Few transport schemes get all the money in the bank before they start, and we're no different. I'm perfectly confident, though, that further funding can be secured from central government, provided Greater Manchester shows that it can actually deliver. In addition, if we build infrastructure that proves that it works, that people like it, then local authorities have the confidence to commit more of their existing money to active travel. First off, I have to say I don't agree with that assessment. If good infrastructure starts and finishes at busy roads, then yes, it's a waste of money because the journey never started in the first place. Good infrastructure, though, can and does work on its own if it's continuous from the start of a journey all the way to the finish. And there's plenty of examples of this already happening in London. Safe space is the single most important behaviour changer. It's the foundation on which everything else is built. Behaviour change can't work. It can't, for example, persuade someone riding in traffic is fun, or to let their kids ride or walk to school when they can't get across a busy road. That said, there are two behaviour change exercises that I'm particularly interested in that can help us accelerate things. First is consultation, or rather pre-consultation with local communities before a design even exists. That ensures that residents understand what's happening. They have a say in what the design is. They're a real part of the design process, and that could massively reduce conflict and misinformation. Early attempts, I think, have shown us that we've got to get an awful lot better at that. Secondly, try before you buy exercises. So, for example, if you take out parking spots from outside shops and replace with a bike lane, or close streets around a school and review how people feel about it in, say, 6 months' time. For those that say it will destroy their business or it will do untold damage, it lets them find out that hopefully that's not the case. And that approach gives sensible people what they need to stop objecting just because it's change, fear of change, and just have a go. At the moment, guidance from DFT prioritises car use, and BCR, benefit cost ratio, is calculated for each scheme on journey time saved without factoring in the costs of making car use easier. So health, pollution, congestion, accidents, you know the score. It's been around a very long time, and it's very flawed, a form of modelling that's let a real poor return on investment happen. But it's a way of thinking that's embedded in local authority officers, in practices, and it's tough to get out of. We're lobbying government right now to change this, but as you might imagine, it's a slow process. In the meantime, though, the more we can demonstrate that people like active travel provision, the more confidence local authorities will have to change their spending habits off their own back, regardless of what the Department for Transport say. Personally, I think it's as simple as giving them an attractive and viable option. Safe space, subsidised bike hire, for example, and along with activities that give them an opportunity to try it. It's slow because in many instances we need the safe space before we can offer them something that they're prepared to even have a go at. The lobbying work being done by WalkRide GM is invaluable. It makes decisions visible and holds public figures to account. Even if in some instances the schemes in question don't get changed, it puts a lot of pressure on to not do the same thing again. And in some cases they want to prove you wrong. We are interested in giving people a driving alternative, and what follows is better. Taking it upon yourself to do some of the things authorities currently aren't, such as scheme progress monitoring and producing viable street designs, makes the people who should be doing this stuff on your behalf feel uncomfortable, and it pressures them to up their game. If you want lasting change, keep this up and grow your numbers. It's a sturdy soapbox that you're standing on. Make full use of that moral high ground. Clearly, if people in decision-making positions do a thing themselves, they're more likely to understand both the value of it and what's needed. They're also more likely to prioritise it. While I agree and would like to see much faster change, something I'm pushing very hard for right now, we've been at this for just 18 months, remember, and we only started planning our network about a year ago. That said, I want to see change in delivery speed in the next few months. And if we're going to deliver this network, as the Mayor said, in the stated 10 years, it's got to happen. As I'm sure you're aware, local councils control their roads. I have control of some funding and an agreed set of standards, but I can't force a council to change the way they use road space if they don't want to. Lobbying and making poor design visible has more of an impact than perhaps you realise. If I can offer you a small piece of advice or reinforce something actually that you're already doing in your messaging, it's make sure this isn't about cycling or cyclists, but about making nicer places to live, tackling climate change, not having to drive the kids to school, being able to pop to the shops for bread without using the car, things that appeal to people who currently drive. The more you can involve those who don't currently ride bikes, the bigger your numbers, resulting in more incentive to abandon the status quo approach. The various cycling leads across the UK got together just a few weeks back, and collectively we honed in on 5 things that we wanted from central government that would allow all of us to deliver quickly and efficiently. And we focused on practical things within the gift of government to deliver, so removing many of the excuses to say that it isn't possible. We didn't go after some of the fantastic legislation they have elsewhere, like presumed liability and give way when turning, so that's give way when you're turning left or right, because these take significant legislative change. And with Brexit on the horizon, even if everybody agreed, the queue for legislation change will be years, possibly decades long. So whilst changes to the law would be great, I'd be wholly in favour, it's strategically not the best place for me to focus my time. Well, I think we should have these regardless of the weather. There are some being trialled in London right now that actually default to red for traffic and green for pedestrians when there's nobody about. And that's a pretty obvious step forward. Whilst personal security very much impacts on travel choices, it is a police question and one that I will be asking as we bring the network online. For our part, though, we want to keep infrastructure in well-populated, well-lit places where people want to go. So giving it a strong sense of natural security, the places that people would go when they're not in a car. I think you're already ensuring that anyone wanting to take the reward without delivering the results is called out, and you're doing a very good job at it. You should know that it makes it a lot easier for me to get change internally when the political threat of not delivering is made so visible. So keep it up.